Hey, welcome to week 15 of the NFL, and I'm sitting here with Zack, Cimini, and I'm Harvard Barnhart. And let me ask you something. If you don't recognize quarterback names, anyway, we're going to get to that in just a second, but let's look at some of the teams that you might used to be a stigma. 14.
Possibilities, and then you have other teams, contending teams, still relying on backup quarterbacks. So that gives you even more advantage to Pittsburgh, who like thinking dump offense. They will just throw 7-yard passes, 7-yard passes. But the Arizona Cardinals, Pittsburgh Steelers, are the only two teams that have thrown the football down the field. And Big Ben and Carson Palmer aren't afraid of making those interceptions. I won't go too much into that, but Big Ben has that arm that you would want in the playoffs. A couple other teams you'd look at, maybe the NFC, Green Bay Packers, like I said, they've done it before. Other than that, I think you still have to look at the strong teams.
Well, look at Manning if he gets. That brings us to our first game that we want to discuss, and oh, by the way, Ryan Mallett just signed a $2.1 million contract for Baltimore.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Those contracts, though, they have so much language written in them.
Well,
he could end up being.
I don't know. I think this is a back for the start next year, so they locked him up. It's pretty much a guarantee. Or Flacco. Anyway, let's look at a team that we were talking about. Both of them have quarterback problems this week. Houston's playing us. One of the reasons we picked this game out is to show you maybe how you can win without worrying about the quarterback so much. Yates for Houston. It looks like Brian Hoyer may be out because of a concussion. That would be his second one in 5 weeks. And if they play him over watching his health, I think that would be ridiculous. They have a defense that should be able to contain Indianapolis and whoever they start. Here's the situation with that. Hasselbeck, he's not on the injury list, but his ribs are as close to being busted as you can get. Of course, I guess you can wear a flak jacket. His arm is in a sling. I think that Houston, I think Clooney had 2 sacks last week. He's breaking through. J.J. Watt, I think he's getting used to his little club hand. Maybe that's even going to help him. Yeah. Knock the hell out of somebody's helmet with that thing. It's like a cast. Their defense went through 4 games where they were allowing under 9 points per contest, and then they ran into a buzzsaw at Buffalo, and then last week with Brady. Well, you know what? Those 2 things are supposed to be expected. Going against Indianapolis, they could get back to allowing 10 points or less in this particular game. On the other hand, if you look at Indianapolis' defense, no matter who is the quarterback that they're opposing, they're going to get a break because on their defense, they're ranked number 30 in total yards, number 26 against the run, 29th against the pass, and 28th against points scored. So they have no defense. And can they put a few points on the board? I don't think so. No matter, like I said, the quarterback, who are they going to give it to? Frank Gore, he's been a bust. Andre Johnson, he's been a bust. Bad offensive line. They've been getting sacked left and right. So they're coming off a 51-16 shellacking that they got at Jacksonville. I mean, come on. This team is not ready to be called any type of champion. I'd be embarrassed for them. I think Ursi's got to do something. I think there's a lot of turmoil between the general manager and Pagano, and it just goes on and on and on and on. Throw in all these injuries, throw in the bad drafting and the picks that they signed up last offseason, and I think they're a total mess. And I'm going to back Houston, and I like their coaching staff. And I think O'Brien's going to do a good job this week. I think last week he got caught up trying to outperform his former boss, Belichick. He put in some kind of offense that he should have never been doing. And their defense played pretty good, for about 2/3 of the game. And then they fell apart. But let's put my name next to Houston, and we'll see it go from there.
Here's the interesting thing here. I know we discussed this game earlier, but the Indianapolis Colts, they just suffered with their first loss in their division in how many years?
They were 15-1, I believe.
Yep.
South.
Yep. So they
good streak.
Yeah, they win in that division, and now it's a question of which team. The Indianapolis Colts, the Houston Texans, has that resiliency, and it's a tough one to say. The Houston Texans over the last 3 years. Let's talk about the quarterbacks they've went through over the last 2-3 years. Matt Schaub, T.J. Yates. Ryan Mallett, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think there was another couple of names in there. There's probably 6 or 7. So they went through a ton of quarterbacks. And last year when they benched Ryan Fitzpatrick, things didn't go so well.
And look how he's playing this year. He's not bad. I mean, the Jets are the other team.
Maybe they had their quarterback
That's
last
right.
year.
Maybe Shaw wasn't so bad, you know. He just got a brain part at the end and, lost his confidence.
So there you go. So this team's been down that road, and that strong defense we've talked about, can they stay resilient? They've faltered in years past. They've shown the same tendency of having these strong starts, and then they fade. They lose that discipline. They lose that composure. And the Indianapolis Colts, you talk about a team that has nothing to play for. They've been there. They've done that. They got a team filled with veterans that probably know they're going to be out in the next couple of weeks. You got a quarterback situation in dire straits, and a defense, and Chuck Pagano doesn't care right now either. It looks like. So you talk about a carefree team that in the Indianapolis Colts, and then you got a Texans team. I'm not sure where I would go on this, but earlier I suggested the Texans, but now I'm kind of swaying to the Colts. So we don't even have a line on it. And
might not be one
really
that you want to bet or anything like that, but a carefree team could come out as a careless team.
Exactly.
And like you said, they're looking for next year and the year after. They've got the oldest team in the NFL. Their average player is 27 years old, and I mean, this is a young person's league. So, I still think if you just had to look at defense versus defense, clearly, without a doubt, you've got a number 3 or 4 type defense going against a number 28 or 29 defense. And let's just leave it at that. Let's move to the next game. Carolina, boy, are they on fire. They're going to be playing a team that looked decent, not great, but decent last night against the Giants, played Miami. And you know what? A lot of teams look good against Miami. So let's don't put what you saw last night out there and say, hey, these are world beaters and they're coming to play in December. Carolina, what'd they do? 38-0 against Atlanta. And you know how many people and smarts and sharps and everybody thought, wow, Atlanta's going to be the one to upset them? 38-0. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. They're 13-0, 26-12-1 in the month of December against the spread over the last 4 or 5 years. And I'll tell you right now, why? Cam Newton, he keeps it loose. He keeps it fun. He's like a kid playing. There's no turmoil in the locker room. Everybody's getting along. Great chemistry. The coach, Rivera, he is right, just the perfect guy for the job. I think, like I said earlier, they want to get the 16-0 season out of the way, and then they got 2 weeks to rest everybody and get that. But you're not going to remember 50 Super Bowl champs, but my gosh, you're going to remember the 72 Dolphins forever, you know. And then who are they playing? The Giants. They must have won. They had to win Monday night, so they were playing that like their title game. That was maybe their mini Super Bowl. Every game is. Manning looked like a world beater. 27 out of 31 completions for 337 yards and 4 touchdown passes. Otis Beckman, he is just all world and everything. But you know what? They had some injuries. They lost their left tackle. They lost their defensive tackle. They had their defensive end. He suffered a concussion. They're on a short week. And I'm just not a believer in anybody. When you take a team like the Giants that have to win, well, you might have to win. That doesn't mean you're going to win. Yeah. Certain teams have to win, and they're playing at the right time against a team. But you have to win against Carolina, going for an undefeated season. I think you're in trouble. And I don't think that the Giants are good enough to play a half-win game. And I'll tell you another thing that's in the back of my mind. It's possible with Philadelphia playing Arizona, Philly could lose. Washington, they're playing this week against, I can't remember at this time right now, but who are they playing?
Let's see, Bills.
They're playing the Bills. They could lose that game, and the Giants could lose this game. So you could have all 3 teams lose the game, and they're still all going to be tied for first. And I see that scenario more than anything like them winning and beating Carolina. I'm laying the 5 points.
Yeah, for me, this is a tough one because I usually hate picking games on teams that I played for or against the prior week, and I had Miami on Monday night, and I had Carolina against the Falcons. So, but still, I think there is some value here in the New York Giants because everyone's talking about the undefeated season. It's escalated now. Obviously, there's 3 games left, and usually when a team's about 9-0, you start hearing this undefeated season talk. But for whatever reason, it took the Carolina Panthers to go 13-0 for that to happen. I think it had more to do with that 38-0 win than anything. But they have the MVP possibly in Cam Newton on their team, the coach of the year, Ron Rivera. They have top 3 defense and offense in football. And it's just an opposite of what everybody expected. They got rid of D'Angelo Williams. They got rid of Steve Smith 2 years ago. Kelvin Benjamin, their star rookie wide receiver, blew out his knee in August. So they weren't expected to do anything, They're doing it with Ted Ginn, who's been on how many different teams since he's been a first-round bust in 2007. And then their other receivers, oh my goodness, you got that backup tight end from Baltimore.
They're pretty much no names.
Dixon.
Right.
And all these no names. So all of a sudden they're getting the job done. And
in fact, when they got rid of Smith, I thought that was the end of them, when they shipped him up to Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
But
somehow they're getting it done. I think some of it has to do with the NFC South being a little bit subpar. They don't really have the division opponents, but you have to give them credit too, as they've won a lot of close, tough games. They beat Green Bay by a close game, Colts in a close game, Eagles in a close game.
Well, they're covering the spread.
Came from behind, beat the Seahawks, but sooner or later, you can't play a perfect game all the time. You can't score 30 points a game. Defense can't play great all the time. And the one game where they were susceptible was 2 weeks ago against the Saints, and I think that game and the way that the Saints picked apart that defense a little bit is something that the Giants can do, because they have that personnel. They have a quarterback that can throw it down the field. They have the star wide receivers, and they have an elite tight end, well, not elite tight end, but an average tight end that can sling the ball around. So I think the Giants are going to be able to score on this Panthers defense, take a little bit of the script that the Saints used, and honestly, I think it's going to be just as tough a challenge. This will be right up there. Because at the time when they beat the Seahawks, when they beat the Packers were slumping at the time. The Seahawks were slumping at that time. The Eagles obviously were slumping at that time with Chip Kelly. So right now you're catching a Giants team that is 7-7 or 6-7 with 3 games left, and they need these wins. So I think this is the urgency game that the Giants will be able to play that elite level offense and give the Carolina Panthers a run for their money.
Well, there you go. Why 2 heads are better than 1. You get to hear both sides of the story. Hey, look what I'm showing here. You know what this is? This is our bowl games. How many of them? There's 40 bowl games, and Zack and I put together a 40-game bowl package. Look at it this way, Zack. You're a big player. Let's say that we hit 70%, plus or minus a game or here. That would put us at 28-12. That would give us 16 units to the good. Our average client probably plays 300 to 500. So let's say they play 300 a game. That means they're going to win approximately $5,000 in the next 3 weeks. That's going from the 19th of December, which will start with the Vegas Bowl, BYU and Utah, all the way through the TCU versus Oregon on January the 2nd. So we'll have a 7-star insider crusher, or the 10-star high roller, or our 10-star game of the year. All the 10 stars included, every game, all rated, all 40 of them, and we're looking at doing it for just $4 a game. You can't get any better than that, and a great value, and it'll be up there this weekend, so we'll be looking forward to that. And we also, by the way, have our over and under total that we want to be giving out for Sunday. It's our NFL total of the year. You'll be wanting to get on that game. It should be a nice, easy blowout winner. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week.